There's been a worrying increase in the number of men who've been arrested in Britain recently on suspicion of being terrorists, and they're linked to Syria. They're suspected of either having been there or planning to go there and training at terrorist camps, then returning to this country to put their training to use. Our reporter Seema Kotecha has been talking to Mohammed Ansar, a British imam in Hampshire, who says he is in regular contact with jihadis who go to Syria.
I think it's something that we all need to be quite concerned about. There is evidently a huge amount of frustration and anger about British foreign policy and actually, more importantly, what is the current situation in Syria. We've all seen the suffering that's going on out there, and there are a number of young British Muslims who have decided that the best thing for them to do is to go out there and be actively involved.
Why do you think that's happening?
Within the Muslim community, there's a general understanding that we feel the pain of one another when we're suffering, and we're holding our head in our hands and wondering what we can do. We know that historically Muslims in Britain have been marginalised and alienated and have become incredibly disenfranchised over the years. They're overwhelmingly suffering as a result of welfare reforms and benefit cuts. They've got an incredibly young age profile. Young Muslim communities here who are becoming, and perhaps feeling, under siege and ghettoised, are becoming restless. And when they see the suffering going on overseas, I think they feel that gives their life some meaning, that gives their life some existence.
What are Muslims like you doing to combat radicalisation and stop this from happening?
On a personal level, I've had lots of contact with the Syrian jihadis who go out there, who see me as an existential threat often to their way of thinking. They have a very hardened view of who is an acceptable Muslim. And somebody like me who speaks on religious issues and I suppose has quite a liberal or libertarian view, they see me as a threat, and so often they attack my view. They make threats towards me personally. I'm not sure whether the answer is to rescind their citizenships, to stop them at the border, whether TPIMs and control orders are going to work necessarily. So once we have these frustrated, often angry and disenfranchised British Muslims going out to Syria to fight, the question is, how are we going to reintroduce them into British society?
And there is that concern that when they do come back here, that they may launch an attack on British soil.
If they were to come back, and if the way they express themselves is through violence and is through the gun, then we've got absolutely no control over what they're going to do when they come back into our communities. And I think that's going to be deeply worrying.
If these people aren't listening to you and they don't respect you and they don't see you as one of them, how do you reach them? How do you get through to them?
We need to have an approach which deals with, firstly, the narrative of the language that they're speaking. Secondly, we've got to take practical steps, and that will mean the government meeting not only religious leaders but a multiple array of stakeholders who can come together and discuss the best way forward here. Rescinding their citizenships is a quick and easy method of keeping them away, but it doesn't deal with the underlying problem, which is that there are disaffected Muslim youth in this country, and some of them who are going overseas. We need to deal with their understanding of what Islam is, what it means to live in a plural, liberalised, democratic society, and how we're going to manage their relationships when they come back.
That was Mohammed Ansar talking to Seema Kotecha. Well, I'm joined on the line now by Sir Peter Fahy, who's the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, and he leads for the Association of Chief Police Constables on the Prevent Counter-Terrorism strategy. Morning, Sir Peter.
Good morning.
You heard what he said there. Is it true that there is that level of concern, deeply worrying, he said, and is the Times right when it reports this morning that there's been a security crackdown and at least 16 people have been held already this year?
Well, we're very clear that if people do go out to Syria, that when they come back, they will be stopped at the point of entry and they can get arrested. We are very concerned at the situation.
You'd know that they'd been there, would you?
Well, clearly we've got all sorts of ways of trying to establish that. We have links with intelligence agencies across Europe.
Right.
This is a very difficult situation because Syria is so close. It is very close to tourist destinations, but it is an incredibly dangerous place. We can understand that certain people may feel driven to go out there either to fight or for humanitarian purposes.
And there's no law against that, quite clearly, whether they're fighting or not.
Well, if people are, engaging in terrorism or planning terrorism or fundraising for terrorism, then that clearly is against the law. But really, the main message we want to get across is we are concerned about the welfare of these people. And we are working with local community leaders, mosques, schools, all sorts of people to get the message across that this is an incredibly dangerous place to go to.
But that's up to them, surely. I mean, what we've got to be concerned about is them coming back here and doing things they shouldn't do here.
Well, no, I think we've got to be concerned about the welfare of them. So we're really, yes, absolutely, because we don't want young people who, as I say, we all feel concerned about Syria.
But it's their choice, isn't it? If they want to go there and do something there and they're adult, then up to them, surely.
Well, I think, in our society, we care about the welfare of our young people. So we're putting a huge amount of effort. We are stopping people at the border going out there. Some people have been arrested. Other people have been put into our programmes to try and help them. But the main concern, is the welfare of these people, as I say, who may be driven because of the huge concern over there, some for humanitarian purposes, naively to go out there, not recognising that it's a war zone, that they'll be regarded as a Westerner, that there'll be a huge personal danger. And yes, when they come in, they're in danger of being certainly stopped and probably arrested. So the first thing is the concern about that, but absolutely, John, at the same time, a real worry about those who may be radicalised, who may have been engaged in terrorist training and will be a threat when they come back.
And is it the case that 16 have been arrested already this year?
Yeah, we stopped quite a number of people because we're very, very clear about what will happen. We're concerned about them. We're concerned about what they may have been doing, and they will be put into our programmes. They may well be charged and investigated, but they will be put into our programmes called Channel and Others, where we work with local agencies, schools, youth organisations to try and, essentially make sure these people haven't been affected and try and make sure they are not a threat to this country.
Well, that's got to be your top priority, hasn't it? That they do not turn into terrorists who want to blow us up on tube trains or whatever it is.
Absolutely, and we are very concerned about this. We've got a huge number of officers out there working on this. We're getting a lot of cooperation from local communities and schools and other agencies, but we are saying this is a huge concern, and we'll be putting a lot of effort into getting messages out there to anybody thinking about going to Syria that it is an incredibly dangerous place, and as I say, that you are in danger, you will be arrested and stopped at the border if you try and come back.
Sir Peter Fahy, thanks very much indeed.